During my surveillance mission in Syria, at precisely 0300 hours, my encrypted phone vibrated. Through the static, I heard my 8-year-old daughter's blood-curdling scream abruptly cease, replaced by a terrified whisper. "Daddy, they have guns. The bad men are here for me. Marcus owes them money, and now they're taking me instead. Help me, Daddy, please." A man's guttural voice then announced, "Time's up, kid," before the line went dead forever. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your location. I am Staff Sergeant Ethan Morrison, and in that horrifying moment, I understood that my ex-wife had effectively signed my daughter's death warrant. After 12 years as a Navy SEAL, I had neutralized terrorists, infiltrated enemy bases, and endured hell on earth. Yet, absolutely nothing could have prepared me for the sound of my innocent little girl begging for her life, while I was stranded 6,000 meters away in the vast Syrian desert. The call had come in the midst of a classified operation near Damascus. Just 3 more weeks, and I would have been home with Lily. She was my entire world, had been ever since Emma irrevocably shattered our marriage 2 years prior with her deceit and treachery. The custody battle that ensued was brutal, with Emma's lawyer successfully convincing the judge that Lily required a stable home environment, not a father who vanished into active war zones. I regret now that I hadn't fought harder, that I hadn't recognized the ominous signs. I immediately attempted to redial the number, but it was disconnected. Emma's phone yielded the same result. My hands trembled uncontrollably as I persistently dialed, met only by an eerie dead silence. My daughter was gone. I located Lieutenant Rodriguez in the communications tent. "I need an emergency extraction. My daughter has been kidnapped." Rodriguez, looking up from his intelligence reports, began. "Morrison, you can't just—" My voice, barely concealing my fury, cut him off. "Someone took my 8-year-old girl. They called her on my secure line. This isn't some custody dispute. This is a kidnapping, and they wanted me to know about it." The intensity in my eyes caused him to visibly recoil. In my 12 years of classified missions, I had never once broken protocol. He grabbed his radio. "Command, we have a family emergency requiring immediate extraction." 18 agonizing hours later, my plane touched down in San Diego. I was running on pure adrenaline and simmering rage. Every minute that passed was another minute my baby girl remained in the clutches of monsters. Emma had remarried 10 months earlier to Marcus Chun, a prominent investment banker she'd met after our divorce. From the very beginning, something about him felt fundamentally wrong. Too flashy, too desperate to impress, constantly flaunting money as if it were meaningless. But Emma, blinded by his extravagant lifestyle of expensive cars, lavish restaurants, and designer clothes, had chosen him over our daughter's safety. I drove directly to their $1 million estate in Carlsbad. The circular driveway was empty, save for an accumulation of newspapers. No cars, no lights. The house appeared abandoned. I rang the doorbell, pounded on the door, and peered through every window. Nothing. It was then that I noticed Mrs. Patterson, the neighbor, watching me from behind her curtains. "Excuse me, ma'am. I'm looking for Emma and my daughter, Lily." Her face immediately paled. "You're the military father, aren't you? The SEAL." "Yes, ma'am. Where is my daughter?" She glanced around nervously before cautiously approaching. "Those people, they left Tuesday night, but not by choice." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "There were men with guns foreign-looking men with tattoos covering their hands. They dragged that poor little girl, kicking and screaming, into a black SUV with no license plates. My blood turned to ice. "Did you call the police?" "Emma begged me not to," she confessed. "Said they'd kill Lily if anyone got involved." She was hysterical, crying that her husband had gambled away money that wasn't his. Mrs. Patterson's eyes welled with tears. That sweet baby was calling for her daddy as they drove away. The world seemed to tilt. Emma knew. She knew they were taking Lily, and she allowed it to happen. I pulled out my encrypted phone and contacted Jake Sullivan, my former team leader. If anyone could help me navigate this nightmare, it was him. "Ethan, I thought you were overseas for another month." "Jake, they took her. They took Lily." My voice cracked. "Emma's new husband owes money to some very dangerous people, and they collected my daughter as payment." A heavy silence hung in the air. Then, "Jesus Christ, where are you?" "Carlsbad. Emma's house?" "Don't move. I'm 20 minutes out, and I'm bringing Connor and Rodriguez with me." As I waited, staring at the desolate house where my daughter should have been safe, one truth became astonishingly clear. Emma hadn't merely betrayed our marriage. She had betrayed our child, and whoever had taken Lily had made the gravest mistake of their lives. They had taken a SEAL's daughter. Now, they were about to discover what happens when you declare war on someone trained to win at any cost. Jake Sullivan arrived with Connor McCready and Diego Rodriguez, my old SEAL team. Seeing them instantly triggered memories of the brotherhood forged in the crucible of hellfire. But today was not about nostalgia. Today was about war. "Talk to me, Ethan," Jake commanded, meticulously scanning the neighborhood like the operator he remained, despite his retirement. I relayed every detail. Lily's call, Emma's disappearance, Mrs. Patterson's account. Connor was already accessing property records on his tablet, while Rodriguez searched for surveillance cameras. "This Marcus Chun," Connor announced, scrolling through data. "Real name Marcus Delgado. Changed it legally 3 years ago. Previous addresses in Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and Miami. All gambling hotspots. Son of a..." I muttered. "Emma married a professional gambler and never told me." Jake's jaw tightened. "Let's see what story the house tells us." The front door was unlocked. The first red flag. Emma was notoriously paranoid about security, always double-checking locks. Inside, the scene was pure chaos. Couch cushions had been slashed open, drawers pulled out, Emma's jewelry box emptied. "But this wasn't a robbery," Rodriguez observed, photographing everything with his phone. "They were looking for something specific." It was then I discovered Lily's room. Her clothes were strewn everywhere, but her favorite stuffed unicorn, the one I had given her for her 6th birthday, lay destroyed, torn apart at the seams, stuffing spilling out. Someone had vented their rage on a child's toy. I knelt, picking up pieces of purple fabric, and that's when the dam broke. My hands began to tremble uncontrollably. This was real. My little girl had been terrified in this very room, forced to watch monsters desecrate her safe space. "Ethan," Connor's voice was sharp, "you need to see this." He stood in the kitchen, pointing at Emma's laptop. The screen displayed an online gambling site, vegaselite.com. Marcus's account was logged in, and the numbers were staggering. Total debt, $847,000. $293.67. Creditor, Hernandez Financial Services. Status, overdue. Last payment, $0, 47 days ago. Payment method on file, collateral agreement. Collateral agreement. I clicked the link and my world utterly imploded. The document was a loan contract, but not for money. It was a human trafficking agreement. Marcus had literally offered Emma and Lily as collateral for his insurmountable gambling debts. Their photos were attached to the file. My ex-wife and my daughter, catalogued as mere property. This can't be legal, Rodriguez murmured, reading over my shoulder. It's not, Jake responded grimly. But the Hernandez cartel doesn't operate in legal territory. They run human trafficking from Tijuana to Los Angeles. Mostly kids. Connor had retrieved more files. Marcus had been gambling online for 18 months, starting small, but the debts spiraled. He had been using Emma's real estate commissions to make payments, but it hadn't been enough. I continued scrolling through the contract, and each detail made me sicker. According to the terms, if Marcus defaulted on payments, the cartel held a legal claim to specified collateral assets for a period of 5 years or until the debt was satisfied. They owned my daughter for 5 years. There's more, Connor said quietly. He had found Emma's text message history on the laptop. She had synced her phone. The conversation thread with Marcus from 3 days prior told the whole story. Marcus, they're coming tonight. I can't pay. Emma, what do you mean they're coming? Who's coming? Marcus, the Hernandez people. I put you and Lily down as collateral. I had to. Emma, you did what? Marcus, I was going to win it back. I had a system. Emma, oh my God, what do we do? Marcus, we run. Backlight, leave your phone. Emma, what about Lily? She's calling Ethan. Marcus, let her. By the time he gets here, we'll be gone. Emma, I can't do this to her. She's just a baby. Marcus, it's done. Emma, we don't have a choice anymore. The final message was from an unknown number sent to Emma at 11:47 p.m. Tuesday night. Unknown. Contract fulfilled. Your husband's debt transfers to the child. She's ours now. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I stared at the screen, my vision blurring with rage. Emma knew. She knew they were coming for Lily. And instead of fighting, instead of calling me, instead of calling the police, she ran. She saved herself and left my daughter to pay for her husband's mistakes. Where's Emma now? Jake asked. I scrolled through her location services. Her last known location was LAX Airport Terminal. 3 days ago, a quick search revealed international flights departing that night. She's gone, I said, my voice hollow. She took the money they probably gave her for delivering Lily and disappeared. Rodriguez was already on his phone. I've got contacts in Border Patrol. If she crossed into Mexico. She didn't, Connor interrupted, showing us a screen. Flight manifest from Tuesday night. Emma Chun. First-class ticket to Costa Rica. One way. The betrayal struck me like a sniper's bullet. Emma hadn't just failed to protect our daughter. She had actively participated in selling her. The woman I had once loved, the mother of my child, had become something truly monstrous. But the most devastating realization was that while I was serving my country, believing I was protecting innocent people like my daughter, the true monster had been sleeping in the same house as Lily every single night. Jake's hand landed softly on my shoulder. Quickly, he urged. If the Hernandez cartel holds her, every moment is critical. I shut the laptop and rose. the fearful parent now replaced by the focused Navy SEAL. Then it's time to hunt, I declared. Within 2 hours, Rodriguez's contact at Border Patrol delivered. Agent Maria Santos met us in a cafe near the Tijuana border, her expression stark as she unfurled surveillance photographs across the table. The Hernandez cartel operates from 3 primary compounds, Chaur, she explained, gesturing to aerial views. However, they constantly move children. Your daughter could be anywhere from Tijuana to Guatemala by now. My stomach plummeted. Guatemala? They manage a pipeline. Children are processed in Tijuana, then transported south to permanent installations. The longer she's been gone, the more challenging her recovery will be. Santos leaned in closer. Yet, there's another development. We've observed unusual activity at their main Tijuana compound. Multiple vehicles arriving at night. Enhanced security. Something significant is unfolding. Jake scrutinized the images. How many guards? 12 to 15, heavily armed. The compound resembles a military installation. Chain-link fences topped with razor wire, guard towers, attack dogs. These aren't petty street dealers. They're professionals. Connor was already assessing the tactical situation. Approaches. 2 roads in, both under surveillance, but a drainage canal runs along the south side. That might offer concealment. Santos hesitated. Look, I cannot officially assist you, but I can tell you, local police will not respond to calls about that compound. The cartel controls them. What about Marcus? I inquired. Where is he? Santos presented another photo. Marcus Delgado, flanked by 2 men in suits. He's being held at a safe house in Rosarito Beach. The cartel keeps him alive as insurance. If his debt is settled, they might spare him. Otherwise, she shrugged. I need to speak with him, I stated. Ethan, that's suicide, Rodriguez warned. The place is teeming with cartel soldiers. I don't care. He's the only one who knows Lily's exact location. Jake remained silent for a moment, then nodded. We'll require equipment, weapons, communication, and an extraction plan. Santos slid a business card across the table. Call this number. Tell them Maria sent you. They'll provide what you need. No questions asked. 2 hours later, we were fully equipped in an abandoned warehouse outside San Diego. Black tactical gear, suppressed rifles, night vision apparatus. It felt like old times, though the stakes had never been this high. All right, listen closely, Jake announced, spreading blueprints of the Rosarito safe house. This is a snatch and grab. We get in, extract Marcus, interrogate him, and get out, clean and quiet. What if he refuses to speak? Connor queried. I checked my sidearm. He'll talk. The drive to Rosarito took 90 minutes. We approached the safe house at 0200 hours, using night vision to survey the perimeter. 2 guards at the front gate, 1 roving patrol, lights on in the main building, security cameras on the north and east walls. Rodriguez whispered through our comms. I can loop the feeds from here. 30 seconds, Jake responded. Then we move. The operation proceeded flawlessly. Rodriguez disabled the cameras. Connor neutralized the roving guard with a sleeper hold. Jake incapacitated the gate guards with tranquilizer darts. We were inside the compound in under 3 minutes. Marcus was in the basement, chained to a chair in what appeared to be an interrogation room. He was scarcely recognizable, his face swollen from beatings, clothes torn and bloody. When he saw me, his eyes widened with terror. Ethan. Oh God, Ethan, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I gripped his throat. Where's my daughter? I don't know. They took her Tuesday night. I swear I don't know where. Jake pulled me back. Let me handle this. He knelt to Marcus's eye level. Marcus, we're aware of the gambling debt. We know you used Lily as collateral. What we need to know is where the cartel processes new children. Marcus collapsed into sobs. The compound in Tijuana's warehouse district. Building 47. But they only keep them there for 2 days. Then they move them to the permanent facilities. What permanent facilities? I demanded. There's a ranch in Guatemala. El Refugio. That's where they... He couldn't complete the sentence. My blood ran cold. Where they train them, break them, make them compliant. He looked up at me with vacant eyes. Ethan, I never intended for this to happen. I thought I could win the money back. I thought. I hit him so hard his chair toppled. You thought? You gambled away my daughter's life. Easy, Ethan, Jake warned, though I could see the fury in his own eyes. Connor monitored radio chatter. We've got company. 3 vehicles approaching rapidly. We had what we needed. As we prepared to extract, Marcus seized my leg. Wait, there's something else. The cartel boss, Javier Hernandez, he's fixated on American military families. He views it as the ultimate triumph, breaking the children of soldiers, when he discovered Lily's father was a SEAL. Marcus's voice trailed off. What? He placed a special bounty on her. She's not going through regular processing. She's going straight to his personal compound. His trophy collection. The room fell silent. A personal compound implied heightened security, but it also meant we had more time. Javier would want to savor his victory. Where is this personal compound? Jake asked. I don't know the exact location. Somewhere in the mountains outside Tijuana, but I know someone who does. Marcus looked directly at me. Emma. She made a deal with them. Information about your military service in exchange for her freedom. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. Emma hadn't merely abandoned Lily. She had actively assisted the cartel by providing intelligence about me. She told them about your deployments, your specialties, your psychological profile. Everything. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. She wanted them to know precisely what kind of enemy they were creating. As we extracted from the safe house, one thing became starkly clear. This was no longer just about rescuing my daughter. Emma had declared personal war on me, and Javier Hernandez believed he was acquiring a trophy. They were both about to discover that some trophies fight back. We drove directly from Rosarito to the Costa Rica embassy in Tijuana. If Emma had fled there, she would need to register with American Consular Services. Rodriguez had a contact inside former Navy intelligence who owed him favors from their Afghanistan days. She's here, Rodriguez announced, reading the encrypted message on his phone. Emma Shan registered 3 days ago at the Embassy Hotel under protective custody, claiming she's fleeing domestic violence. Domestic violence? I spat. She's fleeing the consequences of selling her own daughter. Jake was already formulating our approach. The embassy district is neutral territory. We can't just kick down doors. We need her to come to us willingly. She won't, Connor stated. Why would she risk exposure? I gazed out at the Tijuana skyline, contemplating. Emma always had one weakness. Her need to justify herself. She couldn't bear to be perceived as the villain. She will if she believes she can persuade me this wasn't her fault. 2 hours later, I sat alone in a cantina, 3 blocks from the embassy, waiting. I had sent Emma a message through official channels. Need to hear your side before I go after Lily. Cantina Rosa, 8 p.m. Come alone, or I'll assume you're guilty of everything. At 8:17 p.m., she walked in. Emma appeared to have aged 10 years in 3 days. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her hair unwashed, her eyes red from crying. But what struck me most was her posture, like a woman who knew she was already dead. She sat across from me without speaking, ordering tequila with trembling hands. Start talking, I commanded. You have to understand, Ethan. I never wanted this to happen. Her voice was barely audible. Marcus promised me he could control his gambling. He said he had a system. You signed a collateral agreement, Emma. Your signature is on the document putting Lily up as payment. She flinched as if I had struck her. He forged my signature at first. I didn't know about the agreement until 2 weeks ago. By then, the debt was already massive. 2 weeks! My fists clenched. You knew for 2 weeks that our daughter was collateral for a cartel loan, and you didn't call me. Marcus said he could fix it. He had one more big bet, a sure thing that would pay everything off. I believed him because I wanted to believe him. Tears began to flow. I was so tired of struggling, Ethan. The divorce, the custody battle, working 60-hour weeks just to pay rent. Marcus offered me a life where I didn't have to worry about money anymore. So you sold our daughter for financial security? No, she slammed her glass down. I tried to leave him. 2 weeks ago. When I found out about the agreement, I packed our bags. But Marcus said if I left, the cartel would come after Lily anyway. He said the only way to protect her was to pay off the debt. I leaned forward. Then why didn't you call me? Emma's composure shattered completely. Because I was ashamed. Because I knew you'd look at me exactly the way you're looking at me now. Like I'm a monster who destroyed our daughter's life for money. You are a monster, Emma. You let them take her. I fought them, she screamed, causing other patrons to stare. She lowered her voice. Tuesday night, when they came for her, I fought them. Look at my arms. She rolled up her sleeves, revealing deep bruises and scratch marks. I tried to stop them from taking Lily, but there were 4 men with guns, and Marcus was begging me not to get us all killed. They said if I cooperated, if I gave them information about you, they'd treat her well. They said she'd be safe. Information about me? Emma's face crumpled. Your military records, your psychological evaluations, your weaknesses. She pulled a folder from her purse. They wanted to know how to break you if you came looking for her. I retrieved the folder, its contents revealing copies of my classified service records, psychological profiles from my SEAL training, and even transcripts of our marriage counseling sessions. It contained everything pertaining to my mental state, my triggers, and my deepest fears. How did you manage to obtain classified military documents? I questioned. Marcus, she explained, possessed connections, individuals capable of accessing databases for the appropriate fee. Emma was visibly trembling. I convinced myself I was protecting her, that if they understood you were dangerous, they'd exercise greater caution with Lily. But I know I only exacerbated the situation. Where is she, Emma? I don't know precisely, but I have this. She pushed a burner phone across the table. They provided it to me. They said I could call once a week to check on her, provided I remained silent and didn't contact you. I seized the phone, scrolling through the call history. A single number had been dialed daily since Tuesday. What did they tell you about her condition? Emma's voice faltered. She's alive. Frightened but alive. They're keeping her at some form of training facility in the mountains. They said she couldn't continue. They said what? They said she's special. That Javier Hernandez has significant plans for her because she's a SEAL's daughter. That she's going to be his masterpiece. The words struck me like shrapnel. I had heard rumors regarding Hernandez's masterpiece collection. Children of high-profile targets who were systematically broken and reassembled as trophies, serving as living proof of the cartel's dominance over American authority figures. There's more, Emma whispered. The phone has a tracking application. Every time I call, it reveals her location for precisely 30 seconds. I've been mapping it. She produced a notebook filled with coordinates and sketches. For 3 days, she had obsessively tracked our daughter's movements. She's been in the same location for 24 hours here. Emma indicated a coordinate in the Sierra Madre Mountains. Whatever they're doing to her, it's occurring at this facility. I examined her notes. The location was remote, heavily forested, and accessible only by mountain roads, perfect for a secluded compound. Why are you helping me now? Emma met my gaze for the first time. Because I realized something while sitting in that embassy hotel room. I may have forfeited the right to be her mother, but she still deserves to have her father save her. She paused. And because I love her more than I hate myself. You should hate yourself. I do, every second of every day. She rose, leaving the phone and notebook on the table. But self-hatred won't bring her home. You will? As she moved towards the door, I called out, Emma. She turned back. When this is over, when Lily is safe, you and I are going to have a very different conversation about consequences. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know, I'll be waiting. After her departure, I sat staring at the coordinates in her notebook. My daughter was 60 miles away in a cartel compound, being groomed as a trophy for a monster who believed he could shatter the spirit of a SEAL's child. He was about to discover that some families don't break. They break others. Back at the warehouse, I spread Emma's coordinates and sketches across the table. Jake, Connor, and Rodriguez scrutinized the intelligence while I explained the meeting. Sierra Madre Mountains, 60 miles southeast of Tijuana, I stated, pointing to the location. Heavily forested, single-access road, a perfect defensive position. Connor was already pulling up satellite imagery on his laptop. Jesus, look at this place. The compound appeared on his screen. A sprawling complex carved into the mountainside, featuring multiple buildings, guard towers, and what appeared to be training facilities. It wasn't merely a hideout. It was a military installation. That's not a cartel operation, Rodriguez observed. That's a small army. Jake tallied the structures. At least 40 buildings, barracks, weapon storage, vehicle depot. We're looking at 200 personnel minimum. 200 against 4, Connor murmured. I've had better odds. We're not going in guns blazing, I asserted. This is a precision extraction. Get in. Find Lily. Get out. With what support? Rodriguez inquired. We can't call in airstrikes on foreign soil. The Mexican military won't help us because the cartel owns half their officers. We're completely on our own. That's when Jake made a phone call that altered everything. Tommy, it's Jake Sullivan. I need the old crew for an off-books operation. Yes, that kind of operation. Mexico. A child rescue. I know what I'm asking. 20 minutes later, Jake hung up with a grim smile. Tommy Martinez is flying down from San Diego with his team. Marcus Wright is driving up from his ranch in Texas. Danny Chun, no relation to your ex's husband, is taking leave from his police job in Phoenix. How many total? 12 operators. All former SEALs. All with active clearances. All with nothing left to lose. Jake's expression hardened. Tommy's daughter died in a car accident last year. Marcus lost his son to an IED in Iraq. Danny's wife was murdered by cartel soldiers in Juarez. These men understand what we're fighting for. Connor was scrutinizing the satellite images more closely. There's something else. Look at the thermal signatures. He had overlaid heat mapping on the compound images. While most buildings showed normal activity, one structure in the center glowed with unusual heat patterns. That's not residential heating, Rodriguez noted. That's industrial equipment, medical equipment. My blood ran cold. What kind of medical equipment? The type used for psychological conditioning, Jake said quietly. Sensory deprivation, chemical manipulation, neural programming. They're not just holding her. They're trying to break her mind. I stood up so rapidly, my chair toppled over. We leave tonight. Ethan, wait. Connor grasped my arm. Look at the access routes. Single mountain road, heavily monitored. They'll see us coming from 10 miles away. Then we don't use the road. Jake was already thinking tactically. Helicopter insertion is too noisy. They'll hear us coming. Rodriguez studied topographical maps. But there's a river system that runs along the eastern ridge. Rapids would mask our approach sounds. Water insertion in mountain terrain. Connor shook his head. That's suicide. The current alone could kill us before we reach the compound. Not if we know the water patterns, I said, recalling something from Emma's notes. She tracked Lily's location for 3 days. The coordinates never changed, which means the compound has a water source. That river feeds directly into their facility. Tommy Martinez arrived 2 hours later with 5 operators I recognized from joint training exercises. Marcus Wright rolled in with 3 Texas Rangers who had volunteered for vacation time. Danny Chun brought 2 Phoenix SWAT officers who had lost partners to cartel violence. The warehouse transformed into a tactical operations center. Maps covered every surface. Weapons were cleaned and loaded, communications equipment tested. It felt like the old days, except the mission parameters were personal. Intel briefing, Jake announced, gathering everyone. I stood before 12 of the most dangerous men I had ever served with. Men who had volunteered to risk everything for a child they had never met. Target is Lily Morrison, age 8, held at a cartel compound 60 miles into Mexican territory. Primary objective is extraction and safe return to U.S. soil. Secondary objective is elimination of threat to prevent future kidnappings. Tommy stepped forward. Rules of engagement. Anyone holding a weapon in that compound is a hostile. Anyone who gets between us and that little girl doesn't leave alive. I looked each man in the eye. But this isn't a revenge mission. We get the child, and we get out. Marcus Wright, the Texas Ranger, raised his hand. What about civilian casualties? Kitchen staff, maintenance workers? We minimize collateral damage, but Lily's safety comes first. If someone threatens her life, we eliminate the threat. Danny Chun was studying the thermal imaging. What's our extraction timeline? fast and clean. We have maybe a 6-hour window before the Mexican military responds to gunfire in the mountains. After that, we're fighting two enemies. Connor had prepared individual mission packets for each operator. Insertion via river approach at 0300 hours. Team 1 secures the perimeter. Team 2 locates the target. Team 3 provides overwatch and extraction support. Rodriguez added, communications are critical. The compound likely has signal jammers, so we use hardwired backup systems. As the briefing concluded, Tommy pulled me aside. Ethan, I need to ask, are you prepared for what we might find in there? These people specialize in psychological torture. Your daughter might not be the same girl you remember. The question hit me like a physical blow. I had been so focused on the tactical aspects of the mission that I hadn't fully considered the emotional reality. Lily had been in cartel hands for 4 days. What had they done to her mind? She's strong, I said, trying to convince myself as much as Tommy. She called me from Syria. She fought back when they took her. She's a fighter. 8-year-old fighters can only take so much, brother. I looked around the warehouse at 12 men preparing to risk their lives for my daughter. Men with their own losses, their own reasons for understanding that some things are worth dying for. Then we make sure she doesn't have to fight anymore. The final preparations consumed 3 hours. Weapons, communications, medical supplies, extraction equipment, everything we needed to assault a fortified position and bring home one small girl who represented everything worth protecting in this world. As we loaded into vehicles for the drive to the river insertion point, Jake placed a hand on my shoulder. We're going to bring her home, Ethan. I nodded, checking my rifle one final time. We're going to bring her home. And we're going to make sure this never happens to another family. The convoy ventured into the Mexican night, transporting a dozen men towards a confrontation that had been inevitable since the moment my daughter's whispered plea. Quote 1 reached me across a satellite connection from halfway across the globe. The Rio Sangre lived up to its ominous name, slicing through the Sierra Madre Mountains like a jagged open wound. Its rapids churned violently under the moonlight as our specialized 12-man unit prepared for infiltration. Rodriguez reported, meticulously checking his instruments. Quote 3. Tommy Martinez methodically finished waterproofing his gear. Quote 4. He inquired. Quote 5. Connor explained. Quote 6. I adjusted my rebreather and verified the contents of the waterproof case, which contained Lily's medical records and a cherished photograph from her 7th birthday. Regardless of the condition we found her in, irrefutable proof of identity was crucial for the extraction team. Marcus Wright intently reviewed the compound blueprints one last time. Once we're inside, what's our rally point if circumstances escalate unexpectedly? Emergency extraction is the water treatment facility on the compound's eastern edge, Jake responded. It connects directly to the river system. If we become separated, everyone converges there. Danny Chin voiced a concern that had also been troubling me. What if they've relocated her? Emma's intelligence is 3 days old. Then we adapt and overcome, I asserted as I slipped into the frigid water. However, that thermal signature suggests ongoing medical procedures. They wouldn't invest such significant time and resources just to move her. The insertion commenced at precisely 0 to 47 hours. We entered the water in pairs, utilizing specialized diving equipment designed for cold water operations. The powerful current immediately seized us, pulling us downstream towards the compound. Beneath the surface, the Rio Sunray was a chaotic maze of sharp rocks and swirling currents. My dive computer indicated we were moving faster than anticipated, registering 12 knots instead of the projected 8. The rapids Connor had mentioned weren't merely class 4. They were perilously close to being suicidal. Through my mask, I observed Tommy struggling against a strong cross-current that was dragging him towards a field of boulders. Rodriguez, defying protocol, moved to assist, using his fins to steer Tommy away from the treacherous rocks. Those 90 seconds felt like an agonizing 90 minutes. When we finally broke the surface, we were exactly where we needed to be, concealed in the shadow of the compound's outer perimeter, hidden by overhanging rock formations that effectively blocked thermal imaging. "Head count," Jake whispered through our bone conduction communicators. 12 voices confirmed. Everyone had successfully navigated the insertion alive. The compound loomed above us, seamlessly integrated into the mountainside like a formidable medieval fortress. Concrete walls blended imperceptibly with the natural rock formations, rendering it nearly impossible to differentiate man-made structures from the mountain itself. "Movement on the eastern tower," Marcus reported. "Single guard maintains a rotating patrol pattern every 45 seconds. Connor was already calculating optimal approach vectors. A blind spot exists for 12 seconds during each rotation. That's our window. We advanced in 3 designated teams, as planned. Team 1, comprising Tommy, Marcus, Danny, and Rodriguez, was tasked with securing the perimeter and neutralizing any external threats. Team 2, consisting of Jake, Connor, 2 Phoenix officers, and myself, would locate and extract Lily. Team 3, composed of the remaining Texas Rangers, would provide invaluable overwatch and covering fire during our retreat. The ascent to the compound walls demanded 18 minutes of meticulous climbing. The rock face was treacherously slick from river moisture, and loose shale threatened to betray our position with every handhold. At 03:12 hours, we reached the outer fence. "Electrified," Tommy whispered, testing the wire with a voltage detector. But not alarmed, they're relying on the remote location for their security. Rodriguez had the solution. Insulated wire cutters capable of breaching the fence without triggering sensors. We created a 4-foot gap and slipped through one at a time. Inside the perimeter, the compound revealed itself to be far more extensive than satellite images had suggested. What appeared to be 40 individual buildings from above were, in reality, interconnected structures forming a colossal, underground complex built into the mountain itself. "Thermal readings are originating from the central medical facility," Connor confirmed, checking his handheld scanner. "Heavy concentration of body heat in the basement levels." It was then that we heard something that sent a chill through me. Children crying. Not just Lily, but multiple children, their voices echoing from deep within the medical facility. The Hernandez cartel wasn't merely holding my daughter. They were operating a full-scale child trafficking ring. "Change of mission parameters," I announced through the communicators. "We extract all the children." "Ethan, that's not tactically feasible," Jake cautioned. "We lack the transport capacity for multiple targets." "Then we create capacity," I retorted, leaving no room for argument. "No child gets left behind." Tommy's voice crackled through the comms. Movement in the main courtyard. Guard change happening now. 12 soldiers heading toward the barracks. 12 fresh guards taking positions. Perfect timing. During guard changes, a 30-second window consistently emerges where coverage momentarily overlaps and communications are disrupted. We moved. Team 1 neutralized 2 perimeter guards using suppressed weapons and precise concealment techniques. Team 2 breached the medical facility through a maintenance entrance Connor had ingeniously identified. Team 3 established overwatch positions with clear fields of fire. Inside the medical facility, the grim reality was far more disturbing than I had ever imagined. The basement level housed 12 cells, each containing 2 to 3 children, aged between 6 and 12 years old. They exhibited various states of psychological conditioning, some catatonic, others aggressive, all bearing the unmistakable signs of systematic abuse. "Jesus Christ," Jake whispered, his voice filled with horror at the scope of the operation. In the central cell, I found her. Lily was curled into a tight ball in the corner, clad in a hospital gown, her hair crudely cut short, and her eyes unfocused from whatever drugs they had administered. But she was alive, and when she saw me, a flicker of recognition ignited in her eyes. "Daddy?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm here, baby. Daddy's here." As I unlocked her cell, she collapsed into my arms. For a precious moment, nothing else mattered. Not the mission, not the other children, not the Cartel soldiers who would undoubtedly soon discover our presence. My daughter was alive. However, our reunion was abruptly interrupted by Connor's urgent voice through the comms. "Ethan, we've got incoming. 3 vehicles, heavily armed. 8 to 2 minutes. Someone knows we're here." I surveyed the other cells, at the 11 more children who deserved the same chance at freedom my daughter was about to receive. "All teams, prepare for immediate extraction. We're taking everyone." The most perilous part of the mission was about to begin. "Daddy, don't trust Marcus," Lily whispered as I carried her towards the extraction point. "He's not who you think he is." I stopped dead in my tracks. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "The doctor's here. They made me watch videos. Marcus isn't a gambler. He's a police officer. A special police officer who catches bad guys like these men." My world tilted precariously. If Marcus wasn't a gambling addict, then everything we believed about this operation was fundamentally flawed. Jake's voice crackled through the comms. "Ethan, those incoming vehicles just stopped. They're not attacking. They're surrounding the compound as if they're establishing a perimeter." Through the facility windows, I could clearly see the vehicles Jake mentioned. Black SUVs with government plates. Decidedly not cartel transportation. Men in tactical gear were taking up defensive positions around the compound. But they weren't firing at us. They were protecting us. Connor's voice was tense. Movement from the main building. Someone's coming out with their hands up. It's Marcus." I handed Lily to Rodriguez and moved to the window. Marcos Delgado was walking across the courtyard, wearing a DEA tactical vest, his hands raised but holding what appeared to be federal identification. "All teams hold fire," I commanded. "Something's not right here." Marcus approached our position and called out, "Agent Marcus Delgado, DEA Undercover Operations. I need to speak with Ethan Morrison." Immediately, Jake appeared at my shoulder. This could be a sophisticated trap, or it could be the very reason my daughter possessed knowledge she shouldn't have. I stepped outside, My weapon lowered, but ready. Marcus looked utterly exhausted, his face bearing fresh bruises, but his eyes were clear and resolutely focused. Ethan, I've been undercover with the Hernandez cartel for 18 months. Emma didn't know. Nobody knew except my handler. You're telling me this entire kidnapping was part of a federal operation? No. Marcus shook his head emphatically. The kidnapping was real. But my gambling addiction, my supposed debt to the cartel, that was my cover story. I've been feeding the FBI intelligence about their trafficking network. The pieces of the puzzle began to click into place. Then why didn't you stop them from taking Lily? Marcus's face crumpled with pain. Because my cover was blown 3 weeks ago. Someone leaked my identity to Javier Hernandez. He kept me alive as bait, knowing you'd come for your daughter. This compound isn't just a trafficking center. It's a trap designed specifically for you. A trap for me? Hernandez has been planning this for months. When he discovered Emma was married to a Navy SEAL, he seized an opportunity. He wanted to prove that the cartel could break American military families. Taking Lily was never about my fake debt. It was about drawing you into Mexican territory, where he could capture or kill you. Jake stepped forward, his eyes narrowed. Then, who are those federal agents outside? My backup team. When I realized Hernandez was using your daughter as bait for a larger operation, I broke cover and called for extraction, but we were too late to prevent the kidnapping. Marcus looked directly at me. Ethan, there's something else. Emma wasn't running from domestic violence. She had been fleeing from Hernandez, who had issued a dire threat. Her life would be forfeited if she failed to deliver comprehensive intelligence regarding your psychological profile. The initial sting of betrayal I attributed to Emma began to transform into a more intricate sentiment. She was a pawn, coerced by terror. Hernandez had presented her with chilling videos demonstrating the brutal fate of non-compliant families. It was to secure Lily's survival, not to jeopardize it, that Emma surrendered your military records. Rodriguez then appeared, carrying Lily in his arms. Boss, we must move quickly. There's unusual activity in the lower levels. Someone appears to be activating a self-destruct protocol. Marcus's face blanched. Hernandez isn't present. He never intended to be here upon your arrival. This entire facility is rigged to detonate the moment he verified you'd fallen into his trap. Where is he? His primary compound is 50 miles north. He's been observing this operation through live feeds, patiently waiting for you to rescue your daughter so he could annihilate the entire rescue team and declare triumph over American Special Forces. The distinct whirring of helicopter rotors permeated the air. Not a single helicopter, but multiple aircraft approaching from disparate directions. That's not federal reinforcement, Marcus declared grimly. Those are Hernandez's troops. He's coming to finish what he started. I seized my rifle and activated the team's communication system. All teams, immediate extraction with all children. This location is compromised and potentially slated for demolition. Connor's voice resonated with urgency. Ethan, the other children are in a critical state. Some are unable to walk. Others are completely unresponsive. We require medical transport. The federal team possesses medical helicopters, Marcus stated. However, it's imperative we reach the landing zone before Hernandez's forces arrive. As we prepared to move 12 traumatized children across treacherous terrain, Lily tugged on my vest. Daddy, The doctors told me something else. They said Emma made a pact with the other bad man. Not Hernandez, but someone else. Someone who wished to harm Hernandez. What other bad man? They referred to him as El Sombra, the Shadow. Emma promised to assist him in locating Hernandez if he helped her vanish. Marcus gripped my arm. El Sombra is Miguel Vasquez, the head of the rival Tijuana cartel. If Emma struck a deal with him, the implication struck me with the force of a freight train. Emma hadn't merely been coerced by Hernandez. She had been pitting both cartels against each other, exploiting our daughter's abduction as leverage in a conflict between criminal organizations. The approaching helicopters grew louder, and I could discern muzzle flashes in the distance as two distinct armed factions engaged each other in the valley below. We hadn't just stumbled into a trap. We were embroiled in the heart of a cartel war. "Move, move, move," I bellowed as explosions rocked the compound behind us. Hernandez had detonated his demolition charges prematurely. The medical facility where we had discovered the children was now a heap of burning debris. Had we been 30 seconds slower, Lily and the other 11 children would have perished. Marcus guided us through a concealed tunnel system he had mapped during his undercover operation. "This leads to the vehicle depot. The federal extraction team awaits with armored transport." Jake carried 2 of the smaller children, while Connor and Rodriguez assisted those who could still walk. Tommy and his team provided rear guard, engaging Hernandez's soldiers who pursued us through the smoke and pandemonium. "Contact rear." Danny Chin's voice crackled through the comms. "Multiple hostiles, automatic weapons." The tunnel filled with the sound of suppressed gunfire as our rear guard engaged the pursuing cartel soldiers. We had perhaps a 2-minute head start before they overwhelmed our position. "Lily, I need you to be brave for me," I whispered to my daughter as we ran. "Can you help the other kids stay calm?" She nodded, her eyes still glazed from whatever drugs they had administered, but her voice was unwavering. "It's okay," she reassured the crying boy. "My daddy is a superhero. He's going to save all of us." The tunnel opened into the vehicle depot, where 3 black Humvees idled with their engines running. Federal agents in full tactical gear were loading medical equipment and establishing defensive positions. Agent Morrison, a woman in DEA tactical gear, approached me. "Agent Sarah Martinez, Marcus's handler. We have medical evacuation standing by, but we need to reach the landing zone. What's the tactical situation?" 2 cartel armies are battling each other in the valley. Hernandez's forces are attempting to thwart your escape, while El Sombra's people are assaulting Hernandez's positions. We are caught in a 3-way firefight. Marcus was assisting in loading the traumatized children into the armored vehicles. The landing zone is 2 miles north, but the road is under intense fire. We'll have to fight our way through. As we prepared to depart, one of the rescued children, a boy, approximately 10 years old, clutched Marcus's arm. "You're the kind man who brought us food," the boy stammered in broken English. "You promised you'd get us out." Marcus knelt to the child's level. "I always keep my promises, son. All of you are going home today." It was then that the full extent of Marcus's sacrifice became clear to me. He had maintained his undercover identity for 18 months, witnessing children suffer, powerless to intervene without jeopardizing his cover and demolishing the entire operation. "How long have you been planning this extraction?" I inquired. "Since the day I arrived. Every child who passed through that facility, I documented every guard rotation, every security vulnerability, every potential escape route. Marcus checked his weapon. Your daughter's kidnapping simply provided the justification we needed to act. The convoy moved out under heavy fire. Hernandez's soldiers had strategically positioned themselves along the mountain road, utilizing RPGs and heavy machine guns to obstruct our escape route. But they hadn't anticipated El Sombra's forces attacking from their flanks. Put bain, Connor muttered as bullets fractured the Humvee's armored windows. We are in the middle of a cartel war zone. Through the pandemonium, I could discern the federal extraction helicopters awaiting us at the landing zone. 2 Black Hawks with medical teams and a heavy Chinook for personnel transport. However, between us and safety lay half a mile of exposed ground, swept by crossfire from 2 opposing armies. Tommy's voice came through the comms from the lead vehicle. Roadblock ahead, burning trucks across the highway. Ram through it, Agent Martinez commanded. We do not stop for anything. The lead Humvee crashed through the burning vehicles, its armored hull grinding against twisted metal as we plowed through the debris behind it. Marcus's vehicle sustained an RPG hit that shattered the rear window but failed to penetrate the armor. Everyone okay back there? I called over the radio. Vehicle damaged, no casualties, Marcus reported, but we're leaking fuel. Won't make it much further. The landing zone was now visible ahead, a cleared hilltop where the helicopters waited with rotors spinning. But Hernandez's soldiers had reached the same hilltop and were engaging the federal air crews in a desperate firefight. LZ is hot, the pilot's voice crackled through our comms. Multiple hostiles in the tree line. We require immediate fire support. It was then that Jake made the crucial call that saved all our lives. All teams dismount and advance on foot. We clear the LZ by fire and movement. We abandon the damaged vehicles and advance towards the helicopters in a combat formation. The 12 SEAL operators moving with the precision of a single organism, while federal agents shielded the children. The firefight endured for precisely 4 minutes and 37 seconds. When it concluded, 14 cartel soldiers lay dead in the tree line, and our extraction helicopters were secure. As we loaded the children into the medical helicopter, Lily clutched my hand. Daddy, are all the bad men gone? I gazed back at the burning compound in the valley, where 2 cartel armies continued to decimate each other in a war that Emma's machinations had helped ignite. The bad men can't harm you anymore, baby. You're safe now. But even as I uttered the words, I knew this ordeal was far from over. Emma remained elusive, and her pact with El Sombra portended further violence. Marcus appeared at my shoulder as the helicopters ascended. Ethan, there's another crucial detail you need to understand about Emma's agreement with Vasquez. What? She didn't merely pledge to help him locate Hernandez. She also promised to deliver you to him. As we flew towards safety, carrying 12 rescued children, including my daughter, I realized the true war had only just begun. 18 months of embedded sacrifice, 18 months of silence, 18 months of watching children suffer. The FBI safe house in San Diego should have offered a refuge of peace. Instead, it felt like another trap lying in wait. Lily was sleeping soundly in the medical unit, finally free from the drugs the cartel had pumped into her system. The other 11 children were receiving trauma counseling and medical care. For the first time in 5 days, I could genuinely breathe a sigh of relief. That's when Agent Martinez dropped the bombshell that shattered everything I thought I knew. Ethan, we need to discuss Emma. What about her? Marcus already informed me she was blackmailed by Hernandez. Martinez exchanged a meaningful glance with Marcus before settling across from me. That's not entirely accurate. We've been monitoring Emma's activities for the past 6 months. She wasn't a victim. She was an active participant. My blood ran cold. Participant in what? Operation Fallen Angel. Emma has been working as an informant for the Vasquez cartel, supplying them with intelligence regarding Hernandez's operations. Martinez slid a thick file across the table. She wasn't coerced into anything. She volunteered. I opened the file and discovered surveillance photos, recorded phone conversations, and bank statements. The evidence was overwhelming. Emma had been receiving payments from Miguel Vasquez for months, long before Marcus's fabricated gambling addiction, long before Lily's kidnapping. This simply doesn't make sense. Why would she jeopardize Lily's life for cartel money? Marcus leaned forward. Because she wasn't risking Lily's life. She was using it as leverage. Even from the outset, Emma possessed knowledge of my clandestine operation. A hushed stillness descended throughout the room as I fixated on Marcus, striving to comprehend the words he had just uttered. You disclosed to Emma that you were with the DEA. I countered. I didn't reveal anything to her. She deduced it herself. Marcus retrieved his phone, initiating a playback of a recorded conversation. Emma's voice resonated with pristine clarity. I'm aware you're not genuinely a gambler, Marcus. Authentic gambling addicts don't possess encrypted satellite phones concealed within their sock drawers. The pivotal question is, are you FBI or DEA? Emma, I haven't the slightest idea what you're referring to. I'm married to a Navy SEAL, recall? I recognized what surveillance gear appears like. Furthermore, I'm conversant with federal pay grades, and your current lifestyle is incongruous with your purported investment banker earnings. What do you desire? I demand participation in whatever operation you're conducting, and I seek assurance of protection for both Lily and me once it concludes. A sensation akin to being shot coursed through me. She was aware of your federal law enforcement affiliation, yet she still permitted them to seize Lily. Martinez continued his elucidation. Emma struck a bargain with both factions. She furnished Hernandez with intelligence concerning your military background to lend credence to the kidnapping, concurrently supplying Vasquez with confidential details regarding Hernandez's compound locations and security vulnerabilities. But why jeopardize Lily? Because she was confident we would rescue her, Marcus quietly explained. Emma astutely calculated that her daughter's abduction by one cartel would grant her credibility with the rival cartel. She also understood that once you became involved, federal resources would be dedicated to the rescue efforts. The treachery was so utterly comprehensive, so meticulously calculated, that I found myself speechless for several minutes. Martinez presented additional evidence. Emma has been orchestrating this for nearly a year. She delved into your psychological profile, your tactical aptitude, your response patterns. She precisely predicted how you would react to Lily's kidnapping. She utilized our daughter as bait in a cartel conflict. She leveraged your daughter to position herself as Miguel Vasquez's most prized asset. With Hernandez's organization dismantled and you having neutralized his security detail. Emma delivered on every promise she made. I rose and moved to the window, gazing at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Emma was likely commemorating her successful manipulation of everyone involved, including myself. Where is she now? Costa Rica served as a diversion. She then flew from there to Colombia, subsequently to a private airfield in Venezuela. Her current whereabouts are unknown, though she remains under the Vasquez cartel's protection. Marcus added the final piece to the perplexing puzzle. There's more. Emma didn't merely betray you and Lily. She betrayed me as well. Vasquez was privy to the federal operation because Emma informed him. That's how my cover was compromised. You mean? I mean Emma sold out a federal agent, imperiled 12 other children, and masterminded her own daughter's kidnapping, all to solidify her standing within a criminal organization. The oppressive burden of Emma's betrayal was crushing. The woman I had married, the mother of my child, had meticulously calculated every move to devastate the lives of everyone who had placed their trust in her. Agent Martinez's phone rang. She answered, listened for a moment, then concluded the call with a grim expression. That was our intelligence unit. We've intercepted communications between Emma and Miguel Vasquez. She hasn't finished. Phase 2 of her plan is already set in motion. Phase 2, the elimination of loose ends. Anyone possessing the potential to testify about her involvement in the trafficking operation. Martinez's gaze met mine directly. That encompasses you, Marcus, and Lily. She's coming after her own daughter. Lily can identify her as being present during the kidnapping negotiations. Emma cannot afford the risk of that testimony if this ever proceeds to trial. The familiar chill of combat settled over me. Emma had declared war on her own family, and she had committed the error of assuming I would not retaliate. How much time do we have? Vasquez's hit squad crossed the border 6 hours ago. They are already in San Diego. Marcus was inspecting his weapon. This safe house is no longer secure. As alarms began to blare throughout the facility, I realized that rescuing Lily from the cartel compound had been the simpler task. Now, I faced the daunting challenge of protecting her from her own mother. The federal courthouse in downtown San Diego stood as a bastion of marble and steel. Yet it seemed frail in comparison to the mountain compound we had assailed 6 months prior. Today, justice would finally be dispensed. I adjusted my dress uniform, resplendent in full navy blues adorned with combat decorations. As I prepared to give testimony against Emma, Lily sat in the witness protection area with a child psychologist, poised to recount her narrative to the jury. All rise for the Honorable Justice Patricia Williams. The courtroom was filled to capacity. Media representatives, federal agents, families of the other rescued children, and Emma's defense counsel, spearheaded by the most expensive lawyer Miguel Vasquez's illicit fortunes could procure. Emma presented a transformed appearance. Gone was the shattered woman I had encountered in that Mexican cantina. Her hair was impeccably styled, her makeup flawless, and she wore a conservative blue suit that surpassed the monthly salary of most individuals. She exuded confidence, even an air of arrogance. The prosecution had meticulously constructed an airtight case. Telephone records, bank statements, surveillance footage, recorded conversations, and Marcus's testimony regarding her involvement in the trafficking operation. District Attorney Rebecca Stone rose to address the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, this case concerns a mother who sold her own child to further her position within a criminal organization. Emma Chun did not merely betray her family, she betrayed every fundamental principle of human decency. Emma's attorney, David Richardson, countered with a disparate narrative. My client is a victim of domestic abuse who made desperate choices to shield her daughter from violent criminals. She was coerced through terror and threats. However, the evidence proved overwhelming. Marcus was the first to take the stand, his federal credentials lending substantial weight to every statement. Emma approached me about my undercover operation. She was neither coerced nor threatened. She perceived an opportunity for financial gain and seized it. The recorded conversation, wherein Emma revealed her awareness of Marcus's DEA identity, was played for the jury. Her voice remained calm, calculated, displaying no indications of fear or coercion. She negotiated the terms of her collaboration with the Vasquez cartel as if it were a mere business transaction. Marcus continued. Payment schedules, intelligence deliveries, even contingency plans should the operation falter. When my turn arrived, I testified about discovering Lily within that cartel compound, about the profound psychological torment she had endured, and about the 11 other children who had been trafficked through the identical network Emma had facilitated. Your ex-wife understood her daughter would be traumatized by this experience? D.A. Stone inquired. She considered it acceptable collateral damage for her long-term financial security, I responded, gazing directly at Emma. She remained unperturbed. The defense endeavored to portray Emma as a terrified mother, making impossible choices under duress. But then Agent Martinez testified about Emma's financial records. Quote 2. The bank records evidenced Emma's use of cartel funds to procure luxury items, designer clothing, expensive jewelry, a new automobile. This was hardly the spending pattern of a terrified victim. However, the most damaging testimony emanated from an unforeseen source. Miguel Vasquez himself, now in federal custody after his organization's dismantling, took the stand as a government witness in exchange for a reduced sentence. Emma Chun was my most valuable asset. Vasquez testified through a translator. She provided elaborate intelligence regarding Hernandez's operations, including guard schedules, security deficiencies, and shipping routes. Did you threaten her or her daughter to secure this cooperation? D.A. Stone inquired. No, Emma approached us. She confided that she sought retribution against Hernandez and was willing to assist us in eradicating his organization. What did she desire in return? Money, protection, and a new identity. After the operation was completed, the courtroom fell silent as Vasquez continued. Emma suggested employing her daughter as bait to draw out her ex-husband's military unit. She asserted that American Special Forces involvement would furnish us with the justification to liquidate Hernandez's entire security apparatus. Emma's lawyer vehemently objected repeatedly, but the damage was already done. The final witness was the most poignant. Lily, now 9 years old and having undergone months of therapy, testified via closed-circuit television to safeguard her privacy. Her voice, though steady, was small. Mommy knew the bad men were coming. She packed a suitcase before they arrived. She told me to be brave and that Daddy would come get me, but it might take a while. Did your mother appear afraid when the men took you? D.A. Stone gently inquired. No, she seemed sad but not scared. She hugged me and said everything would work out the way it was supposed to. The defense's case crumbled under the weight of the evidence. Emma's own words, recorded conversations, financial records, and testimony from multiple witnesses painted a stark picture of calculated betrayal, not desperate victimization. During closing arguments, D.A. Stone comprehensively summarized the prosecution's case. Emma Chun did not merely commit crimes, she weaponized motherhood itself. She exploited her daughter's innocence and her ex-husband's affection as instruments in a criminal conspiracy. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. On the charge of conspiracy to commit human trafficking, guilty. On the charge of child endangerment, guilty. On the charge of racketeering, guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, guilty. Judge Williams sentenced Emma to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the bailiffs escorted Emma away in shackles, she finally looked at me. For a fleeting moment, the confident facade cracked, and I perceived something that might have been regret. But it was far too late for regret. Outside the courthouse, Marcus found me on the steps, holding Lily's hand as she fed pigeons. "It's over," he stated plainly. "No," I countered, watching my daughter smile for the first time in months. "It's just beginning." 2 years later, I stood on the Coronado beach, observing Lily meticulously craft sandcastles with a focused determination she'd inherited from me. The Pacific waves rhythmically lapped the shore, eroding old structures and clearing the way for new ones. "Daddy, look! I made a fortress that can't be broken," she exclaimed, her voice bright with the innocence we'd fought so hard to restore. The therapy, guided by Dr. Sarah Chan, no relation to Emma, with patience and skill, had been remarkably effective. The nightmares had ceased 6 months prior, and her hypervigilance had faded. My daughter was truly healing. "It's perfect, sweetheart," I called back, meaning every word. Marcus approached, carrying 2 cups of coffee from the nearby beachside cafe where we had arranged to meet. He had resigned from the DEA after the trial, establishing a private security firm specializing in child protection services. His experience with Emma had transformed him, making him realize that some battles are simply too personal for federal bureaucracy. "How's she doing?" he inquired, watching Lily carefully arrange seashells around her fortress. "Better every day. Her teacher says she's reading at a high school level now. The trauma, it's like it sharpened her mind somehow, made her stronger." "And you?" he added. I pondered his question. For me, the nightmares had lingered longer than for Lily. The guilt of not discerning Emma's true nature sooner, of failing to shield my daughter from her own mother's treachery, had been more challenging to overcome than any physical combat wound. "I'm learning to forgive myself," I admitted. Marcus nodded. "Emma made her choices. You acted to protect your child. That's what fathers do." The past 2 years had brought an unexpected sense of closure. The other 11 children rescued from that compound were all now in loving homes. 3 had been reunited with families who had believed them dead, while 8 had been placed with adoptive families through a program Marcus and I helped establish. Javier Hernandez met his end in a Mexican prison, killed by rivals who blamed him for losing the cartel war to Vasquez's organization. Miguel Vasquez was serving a 40-year federal prison sentence, his empire dismantled by the intelligence Emma had provided. Emma herself had become a forgotten ghost confined to federal prison, erased from the world she had so desperately sought to impress. "Daddy, can we invite Uncle Marcus for dinner tonight?" Lily asked, running up with sandy hands and a radiant smile. "I want to make my famous spaghetti." Uncle Marcus had become family in a deeper sense than blood, earning his title through unwavering loyalty, sacrifice, and his steadfast presence when it mattered most. "I'd be honored," Marcus replied, ruffling her hair. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, I contemplated the question that had plagued me since this nightmare began. How do you rebuild trust after betrayal? The answer was profoundly simple. You don't rebuild the old trust. You forge something new, something stronger, with people who have proven themselves when everything was at stake. "Daddy," Lily said, taking my hand as we walked towards the car, "do you think Mommy ever thinks about us?" It was the question I had both dreaded and anticipated. In 2 years, Lily had never directly inquired about Emma. "I think she thinks about the choices she made, sweetheart. But those choices were hers to make, not ours to carry. I'm glad I have you and Uncle Marcus now," she stated simply, from the mouths of babes, a profound truth. Real families protect each other. As we drove home to the small Coronado house where Lily and I had forged our new life, I realized that Emma's greatest failing wasn't the crime she had committed. It was missing out on witnessing this incredible little girl blossom into someone extraordinary. That evening, as Lily served her famous spaghetti to Marcus and me, chattering about school friends and weekend plans, I felt a sensation I hadn't experienced since before the deployment to Syria. Complete peace. The war was over. The family was safe. The future was bright. And sometimes, that's all the justice you need.